Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of the Express Adda. And we have as a very special guest, Karan Johar. When people say we really don't need any introduction to our guest, sometimes it's an exaggeration, but this time, Karan Johar is the best known filmmaker in Bollywood today. When he began many years ago, he started off with a Doordarshan serial called Indradhanush. I don't know whether anyone remembers it.
I do.
You do? Okay. Just go back. If none of you have seen it, go back and you will see a very different Karan there. He did television for a little while and then he came into the movies. He was a stylist for Shah Rukh Khan. He also did a little role in Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, which I don't know anybody remembers. I'm sure you do. Then he came to Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Then something happened to all of us. Like we all decided to fall in love the way Karan Johar had asked us to. And after that, he went on to Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. And there was a time when I thought you would only do K movies because you thought K was the one, your lucky charm. And then after that, it's been one film after the other. Karan also he's a director, he's a producer, he's a fashion maven, he walks the ramp, he judges shows, he's also been a celebrity talk show host of Coffee with Karan, and he's very sick of people asking him, so will you have coffee? So here he is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very warm edition of the Adda. And Anant, we ask Anant, who's our executive director of the Express Group, to ask the first question.
No, so I think Shubhra's said a lot of wonderful things about Karan, and he's obviously an extremely talented and multitasking person. But Karan, I have to start and tell you, I have a bone to pick with you, okay?
Okay.
Now, so I've been a little inspired by your very personal blogs. So I'm going to share a bit of a personal story here. So there was this girl. A couple of months, I was sort of, we were doing the Bombay thing. We do movie dinner. And, 2 months into it, I'd keep calling her home after the movie. And she never wanted to come. And so once I asked her, what's happening? Why aren't you accepting my invitation to come over? And she said, Anand, it's not you. It's got nothing to do with you. It's my fault. And the reason is because I've been watching too many Karan Johar movies when I was very young. And then...
What does that mean? What did she want you to do?
No, but then we went to watch Kapoor and Sons and my job was done. Right?
Why? Because Fawad turned out to be gay in the end. What does the story mean, Anant? You have to explain.
No. The story means that no one has adapted in the last 15, 20 years as a filmmaker much as you have.
Right.
You've gone from loving your family to sort of very dysfunctional families in Kapoor and Sons. So I don't know of any other filmmaker who's been able to adapt so much in all these years. How do you do it?
I think it's... firstly, thank you very much for being here today. And thank you, Anand. Thank you, Shubhra. Thank you for inviting me today. And it feels great. To answer your question, we moved our office from Bandra to Andheri recently. When I moved to Bandra, we released... our first film that we released was Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham. And we all know the syntax of that film. And the last film that came out of the Bandra office was Kapoor and Sons. And we know the syntax of that. So that pretty much explained the evolution of our 16 years in our Bandra office. We evolved. That's because the people around... I allowed myself to evolve as a result of the people that surround me. I think it's important not to be deluded, to always be relevant, to always connect with your audience and know what's right or wrong with your movies, to read critics and see what they have to say, to hear people solidly. Their opinions matter. All opinions do, even if sometimes they're ludicrous, but they matter. You must. And I'm somebody who goes online after every feature film of mine, and Shubhra may have liked 2 of my feature films in my entire career. But what she writes and what she says, I never look at it with any amount of like there is a sense of sometimes many people have this mentality in the industry of feeling very targeted all the time. And I feel like all critics and all opinions are coming from a solid place. I know when Shubhra writes, she generally goes in to see a film that she wants to like. And for some reason, when she doesn't, you have to read why. And then you have to also read why not. You know, so exactly, so that's what I do. I mean, I try very hard every day to connect with an audience and to find out what people like and don't like. And sometimes, you know, at the risk of even going through the filth in social media, you have to kind of filter through that because there's some really solid things being said on a daily basis. But it's important to know, I don't believe or I don't endorse the kind of human being that actually live, you know, isolated from opinion. And I think the only way to be constantly evolving is to open yourself out to opinion.
So has India changed then? Has India's view of love changed?
Well, it definitely has. I mean, you know, like I think of cinema in the 90s and the kind of cinema and love and romance that has been projected has always been slightly dramatic, melodramatic, theatrical, aspirational. Raj and Rahul that was created in the 90s is an aspirational lover boy to the generation that grew up watching those movies. Today, he's a lot more scarred. He's a lot more grey. He makes more mistakes. He falters. He fumbles. He apologizes for his mistakes. He's not as heroic as Shah Rukh Khan's wide-armed, open moment of romances. I mean, he's flawed. Like if you see Kapoor and Sons, everyone is flawed. Everyone walks the grey path. And I think the sense of cinema has definitely evolved over a period of time in terms of even the syntax of its characters, its protagonists.
And has your view of love changed as well?
It's gone to being cynical a little bit. For some reason, I don't know why. I think it's because I hear too many stories of, you know, when you're single for too long, you surround yourself with too many married people and their problems. And it's really tiresome to walk and, you know, first you want to be a friend, you want to hear the wife, you want to hear the husband, you want to hear their issues, and then you're like, I don't want to know what your problems are because everyone has too many of them, you know, and I really don't want to know. Like that's what drew me to even writing a blog, which we did for NDTV, when I was like, you know, in fact, infidelity is now no longer become just like something that was brushed under the carpet and spoken about, you know, behind closed doors. Now, if you want a party, I can stare at the husband when the wife is saying things about her personal life to me and vice versa, and it's no longer fun. So I think I've just become a lot more cynical about the idea of like, good old-fashioned loving.
Forever,
you know, it's just
loving.
called, you know, that sense of like, you know.
So I want to ask him if your Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, which is going to be like 10 years?
Yes,
next
it's
year,
been 10 years. It's already 10 years.
If it had really worked, would your idea of love been the same, or would you have gone another way, different
Well,
path?
I think when I attempted Kabhi Alvida in 2006, I'm proud of that.
It was I think the one Hindi film that I've seen after Gulzar's Libas, which actually took infidelity and actually ran with it.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that I would open this Pandora's box with it and I didn't realize that people actually put you into a box yourself. So they think I'm the person who made Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham. It's all about loving your parents, and from that to it's all about leaving your wife was making absolutely no sense. I remember Thursday night of that film, I went to see it at a preview. It was a paid preview at IMAX Vadala. And I walked in and at the film screening, and there was a lady and her daughter, and the daughter was weeping copiously. And the woman came up to me and she says, my daughter's husband left her and it's been very traumatic, and I took her out to see a Hindi film to change her mood, and this is what you have made. I thought chalo Karan Johar ki picture dekhte hain, gaane honge, romance hoga, pyar hoga. And she was weeping. I thought that girl was going to fall. She was crying so much, and I was like, that's when I realized that, my God, this is going to be a problem. And there was actually in the same screening a very traditional couple who were in their 60s watching the film. And the moment Shah Rukh checks into the hotel room with Rani,
Yep.
you know, the wife just turned to the husband, and the husband looked at her and said, dream sequence hai. You know? And when they realized after 2 minutes that it was not a dream sequence, that they were actually going to have sex in the hotel room, it was it. That couple 5 minutes later got up, walked out. And I knew that
That was it.
that was it. That it was Alvida to Kabhi Alvida.
Yeah, and the Amitabh Bachchan character, I think up till then he had not been shown in this kind of sexy Sam
I mean,
light.
people
you know?
in their
So-
60s can be sexy. They can be horny. They can be what they want to be. I mean, you're allowed to feel sexual till whatever age you're allowed to be. Why is it that in our country, we have like, you know, a sex appeal is only restricted to people who can show their six-pack abs and can position around can have gym-trained bodies. You can be 60 and 70 and still feel immensely sexual. There is no problem.
Yeah, but part of it is down to filmmakers like you who will only then take 18 and 20-year-olds, right? So,
Yeah, but why I did take Mr. Bachchan and made him sexy. I mean, I did that too. But the thing is that you're lesser credited for some of the brave things you make when some films that have made larger impacts are walking the traditional path. So you're never really given credit for what you do when you do take tiny risks, even if they're tiny.
Sure. Yeah.
Karan, you said that one of the reasons your view of love has evolved is because you've been single for very long. Now, that's one thing you have in common with Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi, is that all three of you have been single.
Right.
Is that one of the reasons that, people who know you call you a workaholic?
I think so. I think that I channel most of my personal life into my work because I don't have a personal. Most of my professional life, is what dominates my life in general. I don't have a personal life. I'm not in a relationship. I have not been in one for several years, and I think that the extra 8 hours of your day that you would actually give to your lover, your spouse, your child, I give to my company. So yeah, I mean, it's not that my concept of. I just haven't found it. I mean, everyone says go out there. Look out there. I don't know what that there is. Where is this there? This amazing place called there where you can find love, relationship, sex, whatever you want to. I'm done with that. Then they say you travel. Don't you? As if to say that once you take a flight, you can fall right into love with anyone or land up into bed with anyone. Once you go out of Chhatrapati Shivaji or you're going to find love. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes, you just don't find love in the right places. And sometimes it just comes unannounced and can sweep you off your feet. But that's rare.
So does that take you into a deep, dark, depressed, kind of depressive state? And, do you think that it is not meant for you and you'll never find the one?
I'm done with looking, Shubhra. I can't look anymore. I'm done. I feel like I'm amazing. I should be in a relationship. And I'm just like, oh my God, why am I single? I mean, I have so many amazing things to share and be. I mean, I would imagine that I would be in an amazing love relationship and which would be stormy and romantic and full of drama and all these things that I put vicariously. I live vicariously through my cinema. But it doesn't happen. I haven't found it. For some reason, it has always stayed away from me. There's no explanation. It does take you to a dark, gloomy place. There are many lonely nights. There are many lonely evenings. There are many lonely moments in your life when you go through a crisis or a problem. Somehow, no matter how much we kind of crib about our spouse, our relationships, our friendships, but actually they kind of tide us through some really stormy nights, And when you don't have that, you know that your parent is always there, but you don't sometimes just want your parent. You want that love, to kind of comfort you and go on a movie date with, right, Anant?
Yeah.
Not a Karan Johar film, at least not the old ones. No, but so Karan, who do you turn to then? I mean, is it your parent? Is it your friends?
Recently it's been my dog. Yeah. I think there's great comfort in the unconditional hug that comes from, I think, your pet. But no, I don't know. I think about that a lot, Anant. I don't have that one person I ever call because it's a combination of, depending on the circumstance or situation. Sometimes you meet a group of people to make yourself better, but I don't have that. What do you call it? A 4 a.m. friend? Yeah, no. I have many, but I don't call that one person. I don't have that one person I can turn to.
When you said a lot of your time goes in work now, and it seems to me, and so one thing that eludes me about the film industry is that everybody you work with are also people you're friends with.
Right.
And that's, I mean, for me personally, that's really unusual. I mean, I'd be very uncomfortable with that. So, I mean, how does that dynamic work for you? I mean, you're friends with the people you're directing, you're hiring them.
That's why we live in a bit of a bubble. Most people in my fraternity do. I mean, they don't know how to go beyond it. Somehow you find film people in any setting kind of drawn towards each other, just talking about their work, just themselves. Everyone's a bit of a megalomaniac in our industry. We can't help it. Everyone's self-obsessed, everyone's deluded, everyone's about themselves, and everybody's about the work they do. And in fact, many people in the movies believe that that's the only profession that exists, which is unfortunate. And I say that, and I feel terrible to say it, but we do live in a bit of a bubble. And and I think that it's unfortunate because we do hang out with each other. We only meet each other because you're kind of public figures. It's tough to kind of go everywhere. And I think you should not take yourself so seriously. I want to do everything. I want to meet new kinds of people. I'd love to be invited to places which are not just film people. I'd love to be there, which is why I take on various invites when I'm called to speak on occasions such as this or in general anywhere else. I like to interact with people who are not just from my world because I think we get close as a result of that.
But then how do you react to people, coming out completely out of the blue and asking you something that you are not comfortable with? How would you then
I'm never
react?
not comfortable with a question because the answer
Okay.
is always in my control.
Okay. Okay, then this is, maybe then one can just ask you about, today and the stuff that has been going on, the kind of event and the situation that happened with the Ajay Devgan thing. What would you say to something like that? Because it's like a storm which has been swirling around in so many people's heads and out there in social media. So,
To that I just have to say that my self-respect, my reputation, my company's reputation, and most importantly, my upbringing doesn't allow me to dignify this question with even a response.
not even.
Yeah. That's all I really want to say on this.
Okay, fine. Okay.
No,
Anant,
so Karan, but how obsessed are you with social media? I mean, are you always looking at it? Are you staying away from it?
It's a bit of a disease, I think. This Twitter, I'm more Twitter friendly in terms of, I don't see myself I'm not on Facebook. But
You didn't tweet your dog yet, right?
No, I have, of
You
course
have
I have.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not doing it obsessively, but I have Instagrammed Nobu. But I'm quite obsessive about Twitter. I mean, I see myself in mid-conversation. Sometimes you don't realize that, which is actually unfortunate because we turn to our phones for almost everything nowadays. That if you're while you're talking to somebody, I see myself looking at it, and then I'm still looking, and I can actually multitask. But it's not polite. It's actually really and you have to check yourself all the time because now it's become a part of your DNA. And it's really quite... and you turn to it to find out everything, how things are, what's happening in the world. It's become my newspaper. It's become my one-stop shop for information on what's happening in the world. But it's a bit too much because you're cluttering your headspace all the time with too many things. I mean, while I said right at the top that opinions matter, but they can't control you. And then information can't rule you. That's what keeps happening when you're kind of obsessed by social media, which I think I'm borderline am. It's a bit of a disease.
But there was a time when you actually got off it. I remember meeting you some years ago when you were seriously trolled for something. It was some years ago.
Yeah, it was a 6-month sabbatical.
Yeah, it was you got off it and you said it is just too much to deal with.
I think then I went through this process where I wanted to disconnect from it, and then it drew me back just like
A magnet.
Like a magnet. Yeah, it just brought me right back. And now I'm finding myself again, every time I feel like now I should give up, I should stay away, I should, keep a distance from it. But I'm in the profession. You see, I make multiple movies. I do things that are always requiring me to connect with social media, to either endorse my product, speak about it, platform it, position it. So I'm always part of it. I can't not be now. I mean,
Yeah, but you also tweet about other movies as well,
I do.
So and lots of other your colleagues. So do you actually you've seen all of those films and you?
No, I lie sometimes also. I sometimes tweet about films that I haven't seen, but I say nice things.
Okay.
We can't now start being honest now. I mean, who's honest now? That's
Okay.
ridiculous. You can't be honest at all. We all live in an industry where we have to meet these people at a party the next night. I mean, I can't say your movie sucks and then say, hi, hey, hi, how are you doing the next day? So you can't.
Okay.
And I find that if I tweet once and I feel I have to do it for everyone I know. So it's a
Okay.
bit of a vicious, and only in my head, I'm the only one who's bothering about all these things. I don't think it's really crossing the person concerned's head as much as it's crossing my head. I'm a bit hyper about, kind of pleasing the world. I've had this miscongeniality problem. It's a childhood thing. I feel the need to kind of always be nice to everybody. I'm trying to tone that down. It's much better now. It's one of my other problems. I have many.
But can you actually be nasty to people?
Oh, yes.
You can. Okay, tell me. Give us an example. When was the last time you were deeply nasty and you cut
behind their
somebody
backs,
off?
I thought you were talking about.
No.
Oh, to
right
their
in front
face.
of you, to their face, yeah.
Oh, that, you have to really piss me off then. I mean, that happens very rarely. Behind the back, I'm amazing. I can be fantastically nasty. But no, to anyone's face, I don't think I've had to I can't remember being nasty to somebody to their face recently. But sometimes you really want to vent about things and circumstances and situations. You want to say deep, dark, ugly things about people. Yeah.
One of the things about, and again, you're just known, everybody's your best friend in the film industry, I feel. Everybody's you say Karan Johar, everybody has a smile on their face and they feel very fondly about. Is there, any tips you can give us who are, how do you
Not
maintain
felt
so
fondly?
many relationships?
No one's feeling fondly for you. I don't know. It's who you are. It's your personality pretty much dictates your relationships.
So one of the things,
And I think it's very simple. The one thing I say, you have to give to get. I mean, I think you have to give to every dynamic, every relationship, even if it's a professional one, to get back in return. I mean, I think you just can't expect to be just like receiving without kind of actually giving.
and you said even the professional relationship, you're known to spoil your talent in your films more than any other production house. Firstly, do you accept that? I mean, you, in terms of payment, in terms of just generally spoiling your talent?
I don't think, I just think it takes very little. It's something that I learned from my father, where he said it takes very little to take care of like people. Because it's like when people are working on your film or they walk into your home or office, hospitality should not be something you should think about so much. It should be organically a part of your DNA. It should be part of your core personality. It should not be something that you need to plan. I don't know how you plan politeness, being tactful, or hospitality. All that should be just you. It should be part of your ecosystem. And that's who I am. So when there are people who work for me, I think it's just nice to take that extra bit of time to think about their comfort, their needs, their requirements. It doesn't take a lot of money, or it just takes a lot of thought. And I think that should be just part of who you are.
So, but Karan, do you think that somewhere here the business model of filmmaking is a little broken right now?
We're going through a bit of a crisis, definitely, because I think we're trying to find our feet. We're losing footfalls, and we have increasing budgets. We have, what do I say? In the movies, we have a bit of an unstable kind of situation in terms of, like, there are 6 or 7 movies that really make money in the year, and there are many, many more than that release. You either have the big event film, or you have the breakthrough film like a Nirja or a Kapoor and Sons, or you have the big event film like Sultan. So, and when you look through the year, you have about 6 or 7 of those experiences, that have happened. The Rustam, the Airlift, Nirja, Kapoor and Sons, which are like a little more of the more evolved cinema experiences, and of course Sultan, which is both like entertaining, emotional, and yet event, because Salman Khan's such a mega movie star. So there are about 6 or 8 names that you'll come up with. With a country that makes so many hundreds of movies, to have 6 or 8 movies that make a mark, obviously the skew is going to kind of shift, and it's going to cause its own kind of storm at the studio levels or at the production levels. And so it's time for us to all reevaluate what we do, how we make it, how much we make it in, and how we plan to position it in the mainstream world.
Do you think stars are getting a little too greedy?
I don't think they are. I think there's a lot of hearsay about just blaming it on the stars. I think it's also, why are you paying them? You can easily renegotiate everything. And I think a star that really wants to do a film, it'll never be about the money. If a star wants to work with a filmmaker or a script that they want to do, I don't know any movie star in contemporary today's times where they would like say, no, I'll take 50 crores and I don't want to do it no matter. If a great script and a great filmmaker is offered, I think any kind of deal can be struck. There can be a back-end deal, there can be a share in profit, there can be a base remuneration to start with. We do different deals on different films depending on the circumstance. But it's when you do sell-out situations, when you overpay for no reason, without any logic, without any feedback or any research made on the kind of film. A certain film will do a certain kind of business if you really think about it. All of us, whether it's Yash Raj Films, Dharma Productions, some of us who are family-run film businesses have been in the thick and the know of the economic structure of Hindi cinema and cinema, Indian cinema in general. And it's very easy for me, when I immediately plan a film and show me, on a piece of paper I'll tell you the basic recoveries. Just 4 very important figures I'll put down for you. And then you realize whether you should make the film or not and what budget it should be made in. What shocks me is when some people actually don't do that basic mathematic before actually putting a film out. And that's what surprised me. When I see certain films, this film can't work economically, no matter what. Because the kind of dictates of the audience that have been setting a precedent for before. So I feel that there's just a lot of thought that needs to be put into the structuring, and which doesn't happen all the time.
So basically, all the Hollywood studios who came in with such fanfare and who are now repositioning or thinking about leaving, do you think they know how to make movies for India? Or specifically Bollywood? Because, it's just 4% penetration 20 years ago. Now they have 8 to 9 of their own. And even in the things that they've made for Indian films, they really haven't been able to At least as far from where I stand. What do you think about that?
You know, I think all the studios came with very good intentions, and I think they wanted to kind of make a place. And what I say very proudly about our industry is that we are one cinema that have never depended on Hollywood money to kind of be who we are. We've always been powerful because of our audience base. Our domestic audience is very strong and has been loyal to cinema for very, very many decades. So when they came with like, I'm this one, I'm Disney, I'm Fox, I'm Warner, I'm everyone. But in the context of India, it's never mattered because no international studio brand can fill in the bums on seats. It's not possible. Neither can we as filmmakers. Only films can do that and movie stars can do that. So when they came, they definitely came with the idea to change things. But I think a lot of the problems were human resource. I think you have to take many times there were people who were employed in positions who didn't understand the ethos of Hindi cinema or Indian cinema the way they should have. You know, you should really love the movies to make the movies. You know, you can't take somebody who has a business background, put them into the movie industry and say now, green light movies. It's not possible.
So not Excel sheets and therefore films.
No, because
films,
if you have people like if you have people who've made movies in the West, in the Western studios, all the heads of studios have been film students. A lot of them have been film students, have worked in film in some way or the other. They've been on set. They know about movies. They love the movies. So you green light movies. When you have that love for cinema, you cannot make movies if you don't love them. It's as simple as that. And it comes from because it's a creative industry eventually. It's a business as well. And it's a balance you strike between commerce and art. But in the movies specifically, the tilt will always be towards the art.
So it's ponytails versus the suits. So it's always has been, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. So, and right now, where Bollywood is at, is in a, where do you think it's at? It's in a good place?
Well, you know what? I'm afraid of that eventually in years, digital will be our parent. Television will be the annoying mother-in-law and film will be the trouble child. And I think that is what I'm afraid of. Until we do not nurture the trouble child and give them the platforming of being a proud parent, you know, things will go all over the place. So we need to nurture this trouble child. Right now, cinema is the trouble child.
So what do you think can be done? I mean, apart from this nurturing...
I think budgets have to be controlled, content has to be empowered, writers have to be empowered. We have to make better films. We write really poorly. You know, we don't empower our writers. Our problem is that we want to pay actors a lot of money, directors a lot of money, and not pay the writer, where actually the writer is the most important resource in a film. Writing is the soul of a film. You being a critic, Shubhra, I'll ask you, what is the one thing that fails every Friday for you? Is a screenplay. You know, that's the one thing. Because the one thing that you cannot, no director can go beyond a poor screenplay. You know, you will correct it, you will probably make it better, but you'll never make it into a great film if the writing is not strong. And I think that's what we first need to do is go down to that, change and empower our writers.
So what are you doing about it? Are you
I'm trying very hard.
Are you creating writers? Are you looking for them?
What I have done successfully is create writer-directors. Because the combination, whenever I sanction a director, invariably he or she has also been a writer because I sense that. But in our country, unfortunately, because the writers have not been empowered, most people want to be a director because that's the higher position to be at. Whereas in the West, a great writer is paid so well. So I'm trying, in my process, I'm reading screenplays every day. I've stopped reading books, all I do is read scripts. I read scripts every day because I want to create a pool of working writers that actually change the tide of Indian cinema. That's my biggest endeavor. And then go into digital and create digital content. But my first and most important, and my project development team at Dharma is working relentlessly to find that writer and those scripts that actually we can empower.
Okay. Do you think you're going to at some point be doing shows for Netflix and Amazon as well?
Or maybe a platform of our own. You know, in thought, I think that right now there's too much noise in the digital world, but nobody knows what they're doing. Everyone's just scrambling around, like, you know, saying that web series, make a web series. Every time you give a script that you don't like, they say, oh, but can this be made into web series? No. You can't. It has to be treated specifically. Everything that's not good on paper and not good for film doesn't mean you make it into a web series. That means you have to basically specifically work hard towards creating great digital content, and that has to be made on a larger level. Right now, there's so many people trying and attempting, small forms of it. It's going to get lost into this digital space. We need to kind of empower it in a large way and do it well and create an audience for it. Right now, we don't have an audience to those numbers. You know, we need to spend the money to create the market.
And are you afraid that digital and, the digital growing so fast in terms of penetration, are you afraid that digital is only going to make piracy more of a problem than it is today, or?
Well, I think digital is the future. It's going to happen. Give it 10 years and everything is going to change. I'm sure of that. I'm more concerned about film. I'm here to protect. We couldn't protect celluloid anymore. We had to give way to digital. So it's similarly, I'm here to protect film. I'm here because I'm a filmmaker first. You know, I mean, much as I enjoy watching American television and I sit till 3 and binge watch shows, but my heart lies in film. And I really feel like that needs all the attention right now.
And Karan, you said that your father, once did 5 flops in a row.
Right.
That never sort of bothered you before you got into film? You never got intimidated by that by seeing that kind of failure in front of you?
No, I was fully filmy. There was nothing I could do. It's all I knew. It's all I ever wanted to do. I grew up in the lap of Hindi cinema, and I only wanted to make feature films or be a part of the world. I didn't think I'd be a director. But I've grown up dancing to Hindi film songs in my bedroom, though I grew up in a snooty atmosphere in Malabar Hill. And nobody even knew of the movie stars I did. But I was always obsessed. You know, for me, life was a Hindi film. When I was sad, I heard a song. When I was happy, I danced to it. You know, when I took a break, it was interval. It was always a Hindi film. I was too filmy, for the lack of a better way of saying it. There's no other world I knew. And I felt bad for people who did anything else. Like, I felt like they don't make Hindi movies, they don't know. Where else can you sing, dance, laugh and cry and still be at work? I mean, that to me is only Hindi films, and I was happy with the zone I was in. I didn't know better, I still don't.
Shubhra?
Yeah. So basically what happens with movies that you really, really like is this. So you talk about the songs that, what's the first song that comes to your mind when you're really sad and
Tujhse Naraz Nahi from Masoom and Lag Ja Gale.
And you sing?
No, I'm tone deaf. I'm tone deaf.
So you actually have like
Gala phad ke I sing awfully. Like I can murder you with my singing. I mean, it's like one thing. I remember when I was all of 8 years old, and I didn't know this about myself. You know, you never know, because in your head you feel that you're hitting all the right notes.
Right.
But actually you're not, because the voice has a totally different way of letting you know that those notes are nowhere close to what. Because I think I sing beautifully in my head. So when I was 8 years old, we had something called a talent parade at my school, Green Lawns, and we all had to put our best foot forward, do what we do best. And I, for some reason, thought that I should sing. And my mother felt that she must not break my heart and tell me that I must not. But I sang this song called Hi Lily, Hi Low. I still remember, which is a song of love is a sad song. It has a high note in it, by the way. Hi Lily, Hi Low. And for some reason I sang, and I didn't realize that there was fear on the faces of many people in the audience. But to me, I thought it was that they were basically just enjoying this beauty that was coming out of my voice. And then after that, I wanted to wait for the prize distribution, because I really thought I stood a chance, you know, in the top 3. And then I was upset that I didn't win. And so that's when my mother sat me down at age 8 and told me that, Karan, you can't sing.
So were you heartbroken?
But you can dance. So she said, so hold my hand, and she put on a song, and she was a crazy Elvis Presley fan, and that was the first time she introduced, because she thought that I had a sense of rhythm, and so she made it a point to dance every day with me. Okay. Me and my mother danced to Elvis Presley songs all through my childhood.
Heartbreak Hotel.
Sorry?
You know Heartbreak Hotel?
Yes, of course.
Wow,
my mother was crazy. She married my father because he promised her he'd take her to see Elvis Presley on their honeymoon. And I think that's why she married him.
Did he?
And then yes, he did. And she fainted in Las Vegas. Like, she fainted. My father had to take her to the ER because she had fainted when she saw him. He came on stage and he did his first move, and there it was, Hiru was in the ER. So that's why I think, so we have a big Elvis Presley connect, my mom and me.
Okay.
Is there anybody you are so starstruck by?
Meryl Streep. I only want to meet her. I can die after that.
Is any filmmaker who you are
not at all
inspired by?
I don't want to meet anyone. I mean, inspired me. They've all done some great work, and I love them. But I only want to meet. I have this fascination for just meeting Meryl Streep for dinner.
And you haven't met her yet?
Never. I did see her at the Golden Globes, which I attended in 2011. But in my head, I was like, if I go and shake her hand, somebody was willing to introduce me, a studio head who I knew. Yeah. But she'll shake my hand and I'll say I'm a big fan and she'll never remember me. I need to sit and have a chat with her. And if that doesn't happen, I don't want to ever meet her.
But why Meryl Streep? I mean,
I'm just obsessed by her. I think she's the best actor in the universe. I think there's no one better than her. I mean, I watch each film of hers about 5 and 10 times. I'm not a fanboy at all. I don't have those feelings.
Yeah.
I just do not have those moments of psychophania for anyone. Yeah. I'm not in awe of anyone or anything. I respect work. I look up to it. I have a tremendous amount of regard for people's talent and their craft and art. But you'll never find me wanting to see anyone. Yeah. If I see even if I see a movie star, a Hollywood movie star and all, it's great to see them. But what do you do next after that? Well, it's fine. I had a terrible moment with Woody Allen. And after that, I realized I won't even attempt doing that again because he was in a British Airways lounge and I love his films and my friend Niranjan, who's a dialogue writer, is obsessive. I'm about Meryl Streep, he's about Woody Allen. And it was his birthday the next day. And I thought it would be so great to get an autograph from Woody Allen and as to give him, it was his 40th birthday. So I went up to Woody Allen, who had smiled at me when I walked in. And it was the first class lounge, so you would imagine that people of just some kind of basic, without being mad, they would behave in a certain manner. So he smiled at me, I smiled back, and I said, I'm a filmmaker from India, sir, and it's my dear friend's birthday, 40th, and an autograph to him would mean the world, from you would mean the world to him. And he looked at me, took a moment and said, no. And I remember at that moment just wanting the earth to open up. And I wanted to dive right in. And for some reason, I said, sure. And took my bag and left the lounge. And I had 2 hours to my flight, but I just couldn't bring myself to go around that environment of it because I was so humiliated. I walked outside with I think I nearly shed a tear. And I called up Niranjan and screamed at him for no fault of his. And I just said, do you know what I went through? So that has scarred me for life. After that, I'm never, ever going to do this.
And you apparently did. Did you meet Ang Lee recently, and sort of for some kind of lessons or?
Lessons? No. I interviewed Ang Lee for Hindustan Times. I did that.
Oh, you asked her for some tips, some. There was some kind of sort of.
Oh, that was in the blog. That was in the blog.
Yeah.
That wasn't Ang Lee. It was Will Smith, which I cracked a joke with, and it was Will Smith and it was Hugh Jackman, never Ang Lee.
Okay.
Will Smith, I said, where there's a will, there's a way. It was a cheesy thing I said to him, and he didn't laugh at all, and it was a very embarrassing moment. And when you crack a joke and you don't get a response, it's the world's worst feeling. It's one of it's in my top 10 most embarrassing moments because he told me I don't know anyone at this party, and I said, oh, where there's a will, and he said.
So then, when you were the coffee with Karan, when that came up, was that your idea, or it was?
Yeah, because I was obsessed. I don't know who in this audience remembers. Tabassum used to do a show called Phool Khile Hain Gulshan Gulshan.
Yes.
Does anyone remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all ancient.
Well, if you, I saw some millennials in the audience. I said, no, they won't know who Tabassum is. So just to put it into kind of visual, Tabassum was an actor in the 60s and 70s, and she would wear this red rose in her head and do her hair up and speak in Urdu to movie stars, chair one-on-one, literally. Yes. And it used to have this music that used to start, Phool Khile Hain Gulshan Gulshan, and she used to come. And she used to ask, and I used to watch there riveted to my Doordarshan television set and watching it and I said, one day I want to interview movie stars. It was on my bucket list of things to do. So at one point when I felt I had gained enough kind of a place in the movies that I could afford to actually do this, I took the idea to Star World to do an English channel, and it was called Coffee with Karan. With 2 people on a sofa, I would sit opposite and I would be intrusive, which is what I did for a living anyways beyond the camera, but I just thought I might as well get paid for it.
Okay, so did everybody sort of jump up and said, we want to come, or did anybody say no to you?
Nobody, because it was such a novel thing. Only Simi had done Rendezvous before that, and it was
But you didn't wear white, right?
No, I wore black. That was my thing. And I invited 2 people, everyone came. It's only later that it became a minor problem because then they realized the kind of syntax of the show, where there was people were and it was all for fun. I mean, I know them well personally, and it's wonderful to kind of ask them about their personal life.
So how
Karan,
do you-
nobody else could pull that off. I mean, when people have tried after that and nobody could pull that off, again, it's because of your relationships and you sort of everybody.
Because see, I never ask anything that is not already known about them in the. It's just the way you ask them. Like the other journalists or members of the media would have to be respectful in asking an awkward question. But I don't need to be respectful to ask an awkward question. I can just ask it without being awkward.
Yeah.
And I'm like, tell me, are you having an affair? And like a journalist will circumvent it and go around it and say there are talks, whatever. I don't have to say it. It's the way you ask it. And I've never got some path-breaking reply. If they're denying it in print, they deny it to me. It's the way they deny it. That's what makes it fun. I remember like when I pinned Anushka down about Virat, I just went at it like in a fun way.
Yeah.
Nobody else would do that with her, right? I know her personally, so I could.
And if anybody tried, they wouldn't get away with it either.
No, not only that, they would probably walk out and
they'd walk out. The PR would ban the journalist for at least a year.
Well, everyone here would know how it works. But the thing is, I would never be disrespectful. I do it in a fun way. And if ever I've got a call after that to say that, oh, can you edit that line? Or can you dilute that whole zone? I've done it. Because this is not my core profession.
Yeah.
If an actor calls me to say, cut a scene of theirs they don't like, then I'm not listening to.
Sure.
But if they tell me to cut a line that they said on a talk show, of course I will listen to it. They're guests of mine and I would do what they say.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you one question, and then about
Then
critics, about how do you really think that critics matter? Because there are so many films which seem to be, to me, critic-proof, and there are some films which seem. But somebody like you, I know that you read every review, right? How do you deal with people who do not like your movies?
Oh, can I tell you there's an inside joke in my office about you?
Okay, tell me. Yeah.
Without meaning, I say that with a lot of love.
Okay.
It's like there's a director of mine called Abhishek Varman who's just like me, who made 2 states. And he actually is the one like me who reads every review. So like our thing is like, what did Shubhra say? Did she like it? So she thinks Shubhra liked it. I said, oh God, that must be amazing. She likes nothing. So it's like a thing. Like, so I'm like, oh, everybody liked it, but Shubhra gave it 2 stars, right? She said, yeah, that's a done. So that means it's fine. You're home. Like it's all normal. Things are okay in the world. The moment you like a film, it really starts worrying me because then I'm like, it can go anyway because I'm a little afraid when you like something. You give that 3 stars, I'm a bit concerned that that film is either brilliant or you're off the mark completely.
Okay.
And invariably that's the case with you. But when you give 2 stars, I'm in a happy zone. Like I know that, chalo, theek hai. 2.5 is actually your favorite with our films. It's like, we reach up to that point but don't quite cross it. But I have to say, Shubhra, that I still feel, and I say that with all amount of earnestness, that you put in a lot of love in what you do. Like I can see it in your writing. I know that you genuinely go to watch it and then you genuinely have an issue and you say it. And that comes through in the review. For me, like whether it's you or Rangan or, like many other reviewers that I follow when I know the integrity is 100%, I really appreciate that. So to answer your question, do reviews matter? Yes, they do to me. They do. I wouldn't be reading them if they didn't matter. They totally matter. I love it when you love a film. I'm a little upset when you don't. So that means it matters to me, right? And for even an event film, you want that validation. For a small level film, you want it to get the support of critics so that it can pull in the multiplex audience on the Saturday. Because there is a large audience that are influenced by what reviewers write. And the Indian Express and other lead publications, our prolific publications, what they say do matter. So I cannot be this filmmaker that will lie to you and say it doesn't matter. It totally matters.
Okay. Anant,
Thank you so much for the honesty,
Yeah.
Karan. That was really nice to hear from you. And especially that last bit. And because we looked at the last 5 years, the top 10 grossing films, and Shubhra's given 2 of them 3 stars at best. And that was
I'm telling you, it's a running joke about Shubhra. Like, we first say, we say, what did Shubhra say? Like, Abhishek comes and says, didn't like it. Doorway, didn't like it. Like the Dolphins didn't like it. I'm like, and they really, can you believe it? Shubhra liked the film. I was like, really? Like, tell me, how many films have you liked this year?
2.
See, I told you. And we're, by the way, towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Be like this. Don't change that about yourself. Like, I'm the only one who called up Rangan. Rangan called me, he writes for The Hindu, and he writes very large, long reviews, and I would tell everyone to go out there and read his reviews. They're academic, and I find brilliant.
Yeah.
And he has liked one of my films. In my entire filmography, he liked Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. And he called me to write the foreword of his book. And he thought I wouldn't even reply to his email. He just tried on a whim. I called him back. I said, I'm such a fan. Hello. So he was like, huh? So he's like, but I said, I know you haven't liked anything of mine, but I really want to write this foreword for you because I really love your reviews. So it doesn't really matter because, see, it's an art form, if you can call it that, is open to interpretation. And it must be. Some like it, some don't. But the dialogue must go on, is what I believe.
That's rare candidness from from a filmmaker. And I must tell you that Shubhra's film review almost every week is the most read article on our website.
I can
almost every
imagine
week.
because people love.
Yeah.
It's like giving marks to a student in school. Now everyone likes kitne marks mile.
Yeah.
Like Shakun Batra, who told me his parents are completely disconnected from like everything in the movies. They just lead a different life. They felt when he got 4 stars for his film Kapoor and Sons, they felt कि वो क्या किया, full marks क्यों नहीं मिले? Like they didn't realize that it's actually a rating. Like he said, वो गलती क्या हो गई तुमसे कि full marks नहीं मिले? So he was like, Mom, it's not a mark sheet, it's the stars. Not telling that 4 stars is a rarity in any case.
Yeah.
I think we should open up to the audience
Yeah.
for some questions. So we got a really packed crowd here. So,
Wow.
yeah, can we get a question here, please? Right there. Sir, Mike?
Hi, Karan.
Hi.
Introduce yourself. And
I'm Richa.
Yeah.
Hi, Richa.
And I also come from a publication house. And it's funny you said it, that your my favorite film of yours has been Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. And I have loved the way you have shown women in your cinema. I mean, I think you're one of the few directors who show very powerful women.
Thank you.
And what makes you do that? Like, you see all the other films which are there and there'll be these men, they're more men focused. But what is nice in your films is nuance, nuance towards understanding women. And you do it from even, from the most pop film that you make to Two States, to even, all the Wake Up Sid, whatever you've done, and Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna is my favorite. I mean, I love all the actresses from Kiran Kher to Rani Mukherjee and to Preeti Zinta in that film. How powerful they are.
It's strange. I grew up with women. All my aunts. My mother didn't have any siblings. She had first cousins that were really close to, and they were all very modern working women. Most of them were air hostesses. They flew for Air India. And my aunt Nalini was the first hairstylist this city ever had. Nalini and Yasmin, she was Nalini. The other aunts of mine flew for Air India, and my mother was also had worked for Alitalia. So they were all working women. And when I grew up, my influence was the 4 of them. Every time, my mom left me alone because she had to go somewhere, my aunts would be with me. So I grew up with progressive, modern, emotionally volatile women who had strong opinions, had points of view, had a perspective on life, environment, and generally on things. And I grew up feeling that that was the way it should be. So I imbibed and absorbed like a sponge their beliefs and thoughts. And somewhere I think all of that has actually made me, the human being and the man I am. So for me, respecting a woman is not something I'm doing that is special. That is just part of who I am. Like, I don't think empowering a woman, respecting them, or making a big deal about women empowerment is just in my DNA, because I believe that they're the stronger force. It's not anything else. I've seen men weak and I've seen strong women. I've seen it in my own home. I've seen it in various others. And if you're not acknowledging the reality of that, then you're really not connected to what's the social fabric of your surrounding is. So I'm somebody who, when I present my women characters on celluloid, it's because it comes from a very honest and organic place in my heart. Thank you.
Hi Karan, Sonali Kulkarni here.
Hi Sonali, how are you?
Hi. The chat has been really engaging.
Thank you.
Thoroughly enjoying. I have 2 questions, 2 different questions. There is a new profession that is emerging in last 1 decade in India, that is casting directors.
Right.
So I want to know from you, do you depend on casting directors and do they matter to you? Because you watch variety of films, you also watch plays, and you are in touch with the industry and the emerging talent.
Right.
Do you feel you want to be in touch with a casting director, and do they actually should be credited as assistant directors, because a casting matters a lot?
Yes.
So this was one question, and second was about the awards, that what awards mean to you, and we have too many coming up in our industry, and should they be regulated?
To answer your casting, Sonali, I have to say that it's recently, in the last 6 or 7 years, it's a phenomenon that I've grown to accept and actually be completely influenced by. It's something that earlier we were never given, that kind of, when we were casting for our films, it was always a part of what we did within our own circle in the office. Like, our assistants used to sit and cast supporting characters. Main leads were always easy because that was what dictated the commerce of a film. But today, I go to only casting directors to cast, like you want new faces, new emerging talents, and you don't know of them. There's so much happening. There are plays, there are television shows, there are, there is like web series being planned, and so many great actors coming from all over the country that are already in the city of Mumbai, and you don't know of them, but you want new faces. So I totally depend on casting director for like subordinate casting. The main casting also sometimes we chat about, like when Shanu Sharma has done some casting for me, or Mukesh Chhabra has done casting for me. And we call them, even for the main casting, when I give a script, they have an opinion. Like, should I take this star or that star? And I depend on that opinion, because there's some very bright minds that are casting. So yes, definitely they have emerged as a very solid technical department in the making of a film, and are here to stay. And I actually tell new actors who come to me, I'm asked, what should I do? I'm like, connect with the casting directors. Don't come to us, because we depend on them. So I would say that to even new actors, go to casting directors, do the process of auditioning, etc. To answer your second question, I love award shows because I get paid to host them. And I think that's pretty much what I should say about them. And that would hopefully put your question into perspective. These award shows are television shows. They're entertainment shows. I would love to win them, and you must take them seriously the year you get them. But the year you don't get them, you must say they're nothing but money-making aspects, and then diss it. But when you get it, you must praise it. It's very simple. But the award I do want to win again, I won one only, is a national award, because I think that when that is given to you, it means something, and you get many more messages in the morning. So it feels really good. And when you go and the president honors you, it's wonderful. That image I'd like to put in because I didn't make it to the national award when I won for Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. So that photograph I don't have. I want that image of the president giving me an award.
That was pre-smartphone, so they might be tough to get.
I wasn't there. My father received it on my behalf because I was out of the country at that time, and for some reason in that zone I didn't fly back. Now I really regret it, because that honor I want. I also want to be Padma Shri. Like, I want to be. I just feel like it's like these are things in my bucket list I want. Like, there's no reason why I want it. Because what am I going to do by being Padma Shri? Karan Johar is not going to do anything for me. But I really want to be Padma Shri.
No, so you don't want to go into Delhi and, sort of become an MP and,
no,
and
not
change
at all.
the world and change India?
No, I feel very responsible as a citizen of the country. I feel completely responsible. I feel what I say, what I do, and I feel patriotic for my country. But I don't want to be a politician. I do want to get a Padma Shri award. And I want to get a national award for a filmmaker.
Okay. But Padma Shri, you don't have to be a politician to get a Padma Shri.
That's why I feel I've done enough work to get a Padma Shri. I'm actually going to really put it out there so I get it next year.
You have to start lobbying for that, the Padma Shri, you have to start lobbying. Yeah, there are many lobbyists.
I can't. Lobbying and all I can't do. I feel I deserve it. I must get it.
But if every film of yours is going to have some political controversy around it, then or if you're going to have a view on every political controversy, then it's going to be a little more difficult for you to get a Padma Shri.
That's not fair. I feel like my good looks should get me the Padma Shri.
Yeah, can I get our question in the back, please?
Please give us your name
introduce yourself.
and yeah.
My name is Varun Pratap Chopra.
Yeah,
So we can't hear you.
Varun Chopra.
Varun, hi.
Yeah, question for you. So DDLJ is sort of 200 crores plus back in the day, and now Kapoor and Sons is also sort of 200 crores plus today. So as a student of Indian cinema, what's actually going on? They appear, to the untrained eye, they appear to be fundamentally different films, but also directed by you. Is there some sort of astral change going on in the industry that you could perhaps touch on, or some sort of paradigm shift for that matter?
Well, the shift is definitely in texture and tonality, but it's happening, it's coexisting. While there is a Kapoor and Sons, there is a solid mainstream Sultan that made all the money. It made 8 times the money Kapoor and Sons made. So there is no grammar, there is no logic, and there's absolutely no mathematic to it. I just think that when you make a film like Kapoor, though there are many more emerging Kapoor and Sons, every year you'll have like pieces of work like Nirja and I said, Kapoor and Sons, and many such film experiences that are novel and new. But you will always have the big ticket film making the bigger money. Pretty much like it is in the West. Like they have it's a clear divide. You have the Academy and the Oscar, the Golden Globe friendly film, and you have the big ticket, like multi-franchise, superhero, big book adaptation book that is made by Disney, Marvel, etc., that making all the money. And then you'll have the tiny film that gets you the Academy Award, but won't make all the money in the world, but it'll give you that respect. So we pretty much have the same. The mid-zone film has died. the one that lies in the middle, the one that is neither great in terms of content or supremely large in terms of scale, that mid-level film is going to suffer completely. Either you make a cracking small film that makes a big mark with its content, or that big ticket film with a mega movie star, which is the big expense that does all the money. That is the problem. There's no paradigm shift. It's a clear divide right now.
Hi Karan, Priyanka here.
Hi Priyanka.
Hi. So a lot of your movies, there's like this great epic love of one's life, and then there's this like friendship and the comfort of friendship, the reassurance of friendship, and usually friendship seems to win out. So do you think that's the way that the world is skewed in relationships?
Well,
do you
I
see
think
that around you, that it's more sustainable?
I can only speak for myself. I mean, when to me, friendships have always defined my existence as a human being. Love has always been something that has been like in and out, turbulent mostly, one-sided a lot. And in fact, thematically, my next film deals with unrequited love, which I believe is part of everyone's life story. Friendship has always been solid, and I think when sex doesn't become part of a dynamic, there is lesser of a burden on the relationship, and I think that it just lasts longer. So for me, friendship has always been something that's lifelong, and love is something that can come as this large, big burst in your life, but leave you as well, and also leave you shattered and broken and completely like in a dark zone. So my vote would be on like deep, intense friendship over mad love. There's so many, like as I was telling at the beginning, there's so many friends actually that have been through their professional, their personal, and I mean, there are too many to name, but they've stuck by me, I mean, through thick and thin. As I said, so yeah.
You also said relationships are like mangoes, like sort of come and go.
They do. They are like seasonal, aren't they? I think your friends really are forever. Like I'm still in touch with my college friends. We have a group, WhatsApp group chats really help, kind of like in connecting and finding out what your daily. Yeah, for me, my friends have always been my family because I'm low on the numbers of family members. I have no siblings and, not really in touch with even lots of members of my immediate families, me and mom and the friends we have. And the warmth that comes from that zone has always been heartening.
Okay, just before the next question comes, I see some few tweets flying around. So if you're tweeting hashtag Express Adda, so at least we can look at what you're tweeting out, and then I can sort of try and direct it here. Yes, please go ahead.
Hi Karan, how are you doing?
Hi.
Can you have your name?
Yeah, I'm Anirudh. First of all, I want to say awesome new office. I think first film studio office that I've been to doesn't feel like a hospital. So thank you for bringing us taste again.
Thank you.
A question for you is, how do we approach experimentation in film? Because we all know there's no medals for creating a great film that makes no money.
Yeah.
So how do you approach experimentation in film today?
I don't know. Because I'm not very experimental in my choices. Very rarely have I kind of taken on a film like Lunchbox and wanted to do something with it. I wouldn't be the right person to answer this question because I really have not been experimental. So I would try to sound clever but say all the wrong things. I don't experiment because I'm afraid to. And I feel like there are some great pieces of work that I have seen that I feel need to be platformed and have always gone into the wrong hands. And I feel sad about that. That's what happened with Lunchbox. I can only share my experience. When I saw Lunchbox at Cannes and I came back to the studio and to Guneet, etc. and I said, we can do this on a large level. This film needs the eyeballs. Because I felt that it was a film that would connect and resonate with a large audience. But there are few of those experiences only. And every time I've seen something that has been beautiful but I know is limited, I stay away because that's not my strength.
Thank you.
Ae Dil Hai Mushkil is not experimental at all. It's back to
it's out there.
It's a sad love story again, or is it a normal love story?
It's Ae Dil Hai Mushkil is out there. I mean, you've seen like the promo and the teaser. It's out there as a love story. It's a story about love. It's not a love story. It's about everyone's life. Every one of us in this room, I can assure you, have been through that one love story that has been left incomplete or unrequited or one-sided. And I think and I've taken that theme and taken it through right till the end. It never fails. It's unwilling, that theme. And I think it's out there. It's mainstream. It has music. It has that level of gloss that my films have invariably come with. But it's telling a very honest story about love.
Hi Karan, my name is Mona.
Hi.
And one of my bucket list questions, or one of the things I always hoped I could ask you, was if you could candidly tell me, where did you dig deep within to find whatever you showed in Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. That was my favorite movie of all times. And I think there's no way you could have known what you have shown in that movie being what you are. I mean...
I think it was Mona, you said, right?
Yes.
Yes. Mona, thank you for loving the film. And actually, when I'm asked which is my favorite film of mine, I always say because when it came, it developed, like we discussed with Shubhra also, it had this Pandora's box reaction, you know, morality versus reality, I think was the debate at that time. My thing is that nothing I said in that film is something that I haven't heard from relationships, from couples, personal observations. Sometimes you marry for reasons that are beyond love and that can catch up with you at any point. You know, arranged marriages as well, I mean, you know, build love within it. And then sometimes, you know, you can falter and fumble. And everyone's big problem in that film is, why does Rani Mukherjee not love Abhishek Bachchan? He's such a poster husband. Great guy, doesn't cheat on her, is good to her. But sometimes all that still may not get you attracted to your husband or spouse. Sometimes there are many other aspects that really enter. And I feel, who are we to judge? Like, I feel like very sad that that angle was judged the most. And there was no explanation. It was simple, she was not attracted to him. He was like a kid in the relationship and she was seeking a more mature existence with a man. And there was no explanation. But sometimes life doesn't have explanations. And that's the one thing that I always say. That when we sit on judgment seat, we make very, very regressive statements. And I think that's what we should stop doing. And I'm not judgmental and neither am I regressive. And that's the result. That's why Kabhi Alvida is an honest piece of emotion, because it's neither. I'm not sitting on anyone. I don't judge anyone for anything they do in their life, because I always believe there's a strong reason behind it, which we should know.
Actually gone the extra step and forgiven his wife and tried to be friends and build it up again. Have you in real life come across?
Well, I have to say that I have been privy to a marriage where that situation has happened. But let me tell you, that baggage is tough. That baggage is tough on both ends. Not just a man, even with a woman, when she finds out about her cheating husband or a husband about a cheating wife, and they still try to make the marriage work. I don't think it's like they say, just like friendship, marriage is also like, you know, like China ware. It's rich, exquisite and rare. But once broken, it can be mended, but that crack is always there. And I think that is true to a deep, intense marriage and a friendship. That cracks, unfortunately, but you go through a phase where there is an awkwardness in your relationship, and then there comes something glorious called old age, where everything is forgotten and that companionship takes over. And then all that is put in the past, because then your diabetes and health issues and heart issues become your elements to talk about. Your morning pill, your afternoon meal, your evening medication becomes your bonding point. And I've seen that it's that mid-zone, if you can tide through in a marriage, then the last 2 decades can be absolutely glorious, because the companionship that a spouse, and I believe that of marriage, like I saw it with my parents, I feel like my mother has never been able to get over the death of my father. Like, she's lost him 12 years ago. There's not a single day that she doesn't stare at his photograph and talk to him. She lost her parents very young, and that loss is also deep. But nothing can replace that true love that you can last right through with your spouse. But you have to fight that mid-zone in your marriage. That's the tough part. It's the mid-zone that needs all the attention.
Funny thing is, so many people here talk about how much they love Kabhi Alvida. And where were they when the film actually...
They were actually younger and more judgmental.
So then they are.
And they grew up to understand the film, because I see a lot of people who tell me, I saw it when I was 20, hated it. I saw it now, I love it. Because they've all had a cheating situation.
Aha.
And also there were layers within layers in Kabhi Alvida, which was, there was the accepting mother-in-law who actually stayed back with the daughter-in-law in the end. There was a woman who did not take the infidelity, and there was a reason, there was a husband who forgave his cheating wife. He came back and said, I forgive you because you were part. There were all those layers which no one saw. They just saw Shah Rukh Khan cheating on wife is not Shah Rukh Khan we know of Kalo Na Ho, Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. It was like Raj and Rahul were suddenly stabbing those various people in their backs. That was something that they couldn't take. Like, he was that you know, Eurostar lover boy who put his hand out and accepted this woman with abandon, and he would never do any wrong. So when had I made that film today, maybe things would be mildly different. Mildly, I say, because, you know, yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
Hi Karan.
Hi Nachiket.
Very well. How are you?
Good.
Good, okay. Quick question. You know, somebody as a filmmaker who really lavishes great attention to detail on the aesthetics. And today when everything is sort of overexposed and we quickly get jaded, where do you get your creative influences from in terms of visual stimulation?
Travel. I think travel is everything. I think when you stare, I mean, observe. Travel is my big. I think it's my biggest reason for any kind of aesthetic information I have. You know, in terms of whether it's costume, hair, makeup, looking, set, art, production design. It's everything. My observational powers are always at its biggest limit when I'm traveling, and I think things even within our country, you know, it's just power of observation. It takes very little to actually observe, relish, and then emulate, and that's what I do.
But people apart, is there art? Is there, you know, books? Is there anything else which sort of...
People. I mean, art and books are all part of the territory, and of course they are part of my travel as well. But it's people and what they wear. Like what you're wearing right now, I've observed already, and I've stared at.
Oh, I'm dreading that.
And like, you know, so it's the way I am. I cannot help it. It's like it's a disorder. I stare without the person realizing, you know, and then it goes into your thought process, and you then put it out there in your film. Like everything aesthetically in my film will always be a result of my personal observation.
Are you a very spiritual person, Karan?
I don't know what that means, because I've heard, like, you know, people say spiritual means you should. Does that mean you chant? Does that mean you go to a human guru? Does that mean you do yoga? Or does that mean you just are good to the people around you in your life and lead your life in the best possible way? I don't know. If that's the way, I'm not religious. I don't believe in idol worship. But I believe in the goodness of being good. And I think just being good to your friends, your family, your colleagues, and your fraternity. And I think that if that is a religion, and that is being spiritual, then I'm spiritual. But no, I'm not doing Namyo Renge Kyo, or I'm not chanting. I'm not in chant groups. I'm not visiting a human guru and hearing their discourse early in the morning. I'm doing none of that. And I'm not art of living anyone. I mean, I'm not like doing any of that.
Okay.
Maybe I'm missing out, but I'm not.
Can we get some questions from the back? I think they all. Yeah.
Karan, my name is Deepak Sethi. I'm a movie buff and a strategy consultant. So I'm going to ask you a question which is going to catch you a little bit by surprise.
Right.
You know, one of the things that I've seen about the movie industry is the fact that word of mouth is a very important determinant of how a film will do.
Right.
Now, as a producer, director, writer, my question to you is, how do you connect with it? How do you relate to it? Do you have any measures for it? And how do you really see the whole aspect of word of mouth? Because it seldom goes wrong.
Word of mouth is actually today told to you almost immediately by, as we discussed earlier, critics' reviews, digital media, social media will give you a sense of word of mouth. And being aware and open about opinion is very critical. So the morning of your release, ours is the only industry where your film or the work you do is judged globally. So if you go online and hashtag your film on any platform, you will get to know what's being written about it, the general sentiment. Then we have in our marketing division a team that tracks it very, very seriously and will give you that sentiment at the end of your weekend. Like, you know, will tell you exactly what people are saying, strengths, weaknesses, general conversational points. And that itself translates into what you call word of mouth. We have meters, we have like research groups that are giving you word of mouth meters. So it's become fairly, it's no longer about like asking your neighbor or your loved one what you thought of the film. That also is a great way of finding out. But there is a more organic and a more structured fashion now that is employed by many lead production houses and studios of the country to find out what your word of mouth meter is. You know, it's actually almost given to you. But more than that, I have to also say, you get a vibe. Like, you just know when a film is great. All you really need to do is the weekend post release is go to a crowded place, to a restaurant or a party, and if no one comes to you about that film, you know that it hasn't made a mark. And otherwise, you will have that kind of energy about it. A good film has an immediate energy about it. It's just, you can feel it in the air.
Do you think that, you know, that one song in your film that needs to work, because that was the old way of saying ek hit gana chahiye. So do you also believe, because you clearly seem to work to that pattern, like Kala Chashma now, and you know.
Yeah, it's become, I put a lot of emphasis on good music. It's very critical. Like, we put out the song Kala Chashma before the theatrical trailer because I believe in the power of music. And I believe it generates a buzz. Because people were saying, the ones who don't know about the film also will say, wo Kala Chashma wali film. They know the Baar Dekho is like the one. So yes, for recall, it's great, it's important. But eventually, I mean, it'll only get you initial eyeballs. The film has to be strong, you know, for it to kind kind of. But yes, there is definitely the power of music will help your opening for sure. It
Because
definitely
your
does.
old-time distributors would always say that गाना अगर है, it hit है, तो फिर film hit होगी.
I think but that's because they were not, it's not so much, Shubhra, to now, because now if you really love the song, you can see it online 300 times. You don't need to go to the cinema hall. That used to work itself in those days much more, because then the only way to see the song was in the movie hall.
Yeah.
But today, you might, it's just for recall today that it helps, but it doesn't really help the opening like it used to.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a question in the back there.
Hi, Karan. My name is Radhika. I'm from the Indian Express.
Hi, Radhika.
Okay, so I'm asking this question on behalf of a colleague who couldn't be here at the moment. So she's asking, the surrogacy bill that has been approved by Cabinet bans this procedure for single, unmarried, and live-in partners. Recently, Tushar Kapoor opted for this medical process. Since you're still single, what is your personal take on the bill, and are we going a step back with it? Thanks.
I believe that, of course, it would be a very disappointing and unfortunate bill if it was passed, because I think I would say it would be wonderful if there are so many parents out there, for various reasons, single, or for whatever circumstance that they came from, would like to have a child, and this bill would actually come in the way of them, you know, kind of basically wanting to take that decision for themselves. I don't endorse the bill. I unfortunately feel like it would be sad if it was passed, because on various levels it is disheartening. And I believe that it also walks its way into our constitutional right of freedom. And I think it's really sad, and it's everyone's personal decision. And I think it should not be encouraged.
Hi, my name's Vibha. Question to you is, if you were to be reborn as a woman in your next life, who would you want to be? Other than Meryl Streep, you already told us about your fascination with her.
No, I don't want to be her. I want to love her. I don't know. I mean, I would love to be born a woman. I think the opportunities are amazing, and I mean that just in terms of emotionality. I don't know. There's not a single woman that I would love to be born as a woman. I mean, there is absolutely. If I'm given a choice between a man and a woman, I've been a man, and I would love to be born a woman, because it would just complete me in the world of soul. But I can't tell you a single woman, because when you look up to them, doesn't mean you want to be them, because then you stop looking up to them, right? It's as simple as that. I have no problem being born a woman, but I can't give you a name, because there's really nobody I want to be. I'm proud of who I am today, because I made myself into this person. And that's what you do when you're born. You have to make yourself into that being that you can be proud of. So no great person was born that way. They made themselves that. And I think that's what you do. You cultivate yourself to be somebody that somebody else can be proud of. So hopefully, if I'm born a woman in my next life, I will be as proud as I am today being a man.
Hi. Okay, so first, I don't know how you make heartbreak look so desirable. I absolutely loved Ae Dil Hai Mushkil. My question, of course, can only come from an actor, and all the other actors over here will, I think, understand. You're more than a director and a filmmaker. You really are someone who has, over the years, changed Bollywood pretty much forever, and that's amazing. It may not be factual, but just in terms of perception, you are someone who is seen to be the person who makes, launches star children and makes all these amazing, careers. Now you know why an actor is asking this question, an actor like me. But I just want to know, is that something that happens consciously, or is that something that kind of just happens in the way in which, you know how when you know people or you've known them from bachpan or whatever? Because to the outsider, it kind of makes, or for someone like me, it makes Bollywood very...
Nepotistic.
Not nepotistic, almost feudal. Yeah. That so for someone like me, we would never know how to find a way in. But I'm just asking, is that a conscious thing, or is that just something that kind of just happens on its own?
You know, actually with me, I've launched 2 kids that were from the movies, Varun and Alia. And it was actually, none of those are results of nepotism for me. Because, but I would understand what you're saying, because to the naked eye and to the eye from the outside, it looks like these guys are a clique, they're a group, they know each other's aunts, sons, nephews, and it's easy for them to kind of work with each other. In my case, it wasn't the case, because when I was making Student of the Year, I had 2 assistant boys. One happened to be David Dhawan's son that came to me because his mom called me, and so maybe, and she said he wanted to be an assistant, not an actor. He came to be an AD, and Siddharth Malhotra walked into the office to meet Karan Malhotra, and the only reason Karan Malhotra took him on as an AD because they had the last same name, and he said that chalo, we'll give him a chance. He wanted to be an AD and give up his modeling career. These two boys happened to be on set at the right time. With Alia, I had no connection with Mahesh Bhatt. In fact, for the longest time, I had an issue with Mahesh Bhatt in my head because I felt he and my father, he had wronged us or something. I had that one childhood angst towards him, and I didn't even know he had a daughter, at all, till I was told by my writer Niranjan Iyengar that you should meet Pooja. But so it was nothing to do with that. It so happened that these dots got completed. But I do agree with you, Swara, that sometimes what is in front of you is easier, as a result, than looking beyond it. But I think things are changing. Like such talented actors like yourself have become and I know, and I feel like you all are raising from the ranks and are doing good work. But it's not because, it's just because I'm saying it to you, but I think there's a lot of a great talent that is from outside of the industry, and they are being credited finally in the movies.
Sorry, as a producer, would you say that a star child brings a value for when you have to market the film? Because there's already an interest. Does that
Very
help?
Minorly. I mean, beyond and above a point of time, of course, there are few movie stars whose children would make that large impact. Without mentioning, there are one or two big major movie stars whose kids would make that kind of large impact, But it's not the case with everyone, because it's like tomorrow, you're judged almost immediately by your talent first today. Like there's a certain kind of, as I said, we're in such a different digital age that, you're no longer given like brownie points because you're somebody's son. You have to be good at what you do. If you're not good at what you do, there's no way you're going to last. I mean, you won't get those opportunities because nobody has money to give you anymore.
But lineage does get your foot into the door, doesn't it?
It's definitely easier. As I said, literally, like Varun Dhawan was an AD because I know him through the movies. He would never have been in my environment otherwise. How would I have known? But there are lots of other, people who have aspirations to be part of production houses, to work as ADs, who won't get that inroad. So definitely it's easier. But after that, there's a flip side to it, because, you're judged even more severely when you're from within the film industry. You're given rare chances of you're not always credited with talent, because it's kind of felt that, you're from the movies, it's easier for you. There's a perception you have to fight as well. It's tougher for these big star kids as well. It works the other way sometimes.
But they get a lot more chances than anyone else does.
They do. But they're also judged a little more harshly. I feel sometimes you go into the psyche of a star kid, you'll know that they are a lot more traumatized than somebody who has nothing to lose.
So is a childhood angst against Mr. Bhatt now no longer there?
No, I love him. I love him totally because he's my favorite girl's dad. And I love him because in 2010, when I had an issue on My Name is Khan, he was the only phone call I got. From the industry, and I was having this silent war with him, which I don't think he was aware of. I was in my own head having an issue with him. He was not aware of this problem. And when he called me, I realized he was very gracious of him to call me at a time where I didn't get a single other call from the movie fraternity. After having been there for several, nobody called me. He called me and he said, I want to help. I know you're going through an issue. And he did help me. He did something that was, he put his money where his mouth was, and and after that I was a bit sold on him. I still am.
And another relationship which I think is recently now better is with Ram Gopal Verma. Is that
No, that was very last season, that problem. It was like, we're totally fine right now. Not that I have an issue with him, but our issue is it was 2 seasons ago.
Okay.
It was not even last season.
So now he's your dearest friend, right?
Not at all. He's nothing. We have a great place. It's called Indifference.
Okay.
We're both indifferent to each other, and in fact he praised my promo, and I said, I think you made my day, Ramu, because I'm like him liking my film. I woke up and I was like, Ram Gopal Verma liked my teaser. I had to read it 3-4 times. I said, is there hidden sarcasm that I'm not reading? But it seemed very earnest.
Yeah, because his whole thing about that whole family thing, if you remember, many years ago.
No, but he came and told me at Abhishek Bachchan and Aishwarya Rai's wedding, he's like, oh my God, I kept thinking you made films that were not relatable at all. And in that wedding, there was a big Sangeet that was happening. And he was like, but people in the real world are doing the same thing that you show in the movies. So he's saying, actually, you make real films and I don't. I was like, finally you get it, Ramu. This is it.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Good evening. Hi. This is from my daughter. She's 20 years old.
Can I give us your name, please?
Bharti.
Hi, Bharti.
Yeah, hi. This is from my daughter. She just loves your movie, Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham.
Thank you.
I don't know why. She is just 20 years, but she's just fallen in love in that for that movie. So
Oh.
something for her.
Oh God.
For that generation.
Well, I'm happy. I love it when the younger kids like my work, because I think that it's always important to be relevant to the generation, and I'm sure that Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham is a pop culture film. It's like, I think it was in the time when pop culture was emerging. I mean, with Dil Chahta in 2001 and Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, and I'm sure she likes the Kareena Kapoor angle a lot and possibly loves you very much because it's all about mother, son, child. It is the buffet of Indian relationships. Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham. Pick your relationship is in the film, and it's visually whatever it is. So please thank her, and I get that a lot from younger kids who watch that film on satellite now, and I think connect to it for whatever reason. And I think we all have hidden traumatic emotions about our parents and our siblings, and I think Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham taps in on all of that. Yeah. She's watching really good. God bless her, and Star Plus thanks her.
Hi, I'm Malvika. A quick question. Was there any film in the recent past, Bollywood, Hollywood, foreign, that you wish you had directed, made, produced?
I never get these feelings, or I wish I would have made it. I feel when you appreciate something, like it's just something you love. You don't want to do it ever. Like I've loved so many films. I have to say though, this year my favorite film was one of my own. Like I saw it like an audience. When I saw Kapoor and Sons, I was like, this is it. I wish I had like written a film like this. That was never a film I wish I directed. I wish I could have got the syntax of just that dysfunctionality. And I love the way each character emerged. So I would never say this normally about my own films, but this is a film I was very proud of, and I still am.
Okay, great, thank you.
We have time for two or three more. Go ahead.
Hi, Karan. I'm Amreen.
Hi, Amreen.
Hi. Who is it that Karan really wants to have coffee with?
Not Meryl
I'm trying to think. No, not at all. Again, I'd be awestruck. I wouldn't be able to ask her anything. I don't know. Who would I like to have coffee? I think pretty much everyone has been on the show. I think Rekha. I really tried to get her. 2 seasons. I tried and I realized it wasn't easy. So I failed. I would like to actually have a conversation with her. It would be quite interesting. She's the one actress that I would really like to have on the show. I'm going to try this season again.
If we ever get her for our Adda, I think you should definitely co-moderate it with us.
Happily.
Yeah?
Happily. Even if I don't get on that. She's one person I would love to have a conversation with. I feel there's so much mystery that surrounds her that it's exciting to try and like fight through all that mystery and hit home some realities.
And Karan, and you can't endorse the coffee anymore unless you actually like it, right? I mean, now the new endorsement rules, you could be in jail, you can get a 50 lakh fine if you are endorsing something that...
I like all the coffees, so I can't be jailed for anything. Every kind of coffee is something I love. So yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Vishal. Karan, I just want to ask you something. You go to abroad for your film locations. A lot of your films have been abroad. Do you always look at it abroad, or you want to look at India also? India has a lot of places where you can show the movies. Because I always see your movies always abroad,
I like the weather. No. That's not the reason. I don't know. I actually, for some reason, I think there's a lot of value of taking your entire cast out of their domain, and I think shooting extensively out of their zone. For some reason, that seems to have become a norm wherever. The country is beautiful, and we know it, and lots of films I've produced, actually, we've shot extensively in India. It's just the ones I've directed. Like, actually, Student of the Year is all in India. It just looks like it wasn't. It was meant to be Dehradun. It didn't look it at all, but it was meant to be. But yeah, no, there's no answer. I think I just probably like to take movie actors away for 3 months, shoot the film and come back. And that's become a bit of a template, and it's not something I'm apologetic about.
Yep. Hi, Karan. This is
Hi,
Chaya here. Hi. Karan, no, I've always wondered, I've always admired the way you are. And you had such beautiful relationships with people, and even when they're warring with each other, you've maintained a fabulous relationship. So what's the secret behind that?
Is not to get involved. It's like really
but
not
I know.
I mean, sometimes sitting on the fence can hurt, pun intended.
Yeah.
But I think it's integral for you not to take any kind of sides in any dynamic, because maintain your own individual equations with people and not get involved. And the people who ask you to take sides, those are people I don't agree with at all.
Yeah, that's...
I think that's the unfair thing. I don't think anyone, and I've never been put in that circumstance, because a lot of the relationships you make, a lot of them you inherit. And both of those you have to kind of value for various reasons. And I've never ever, I've known two people who are not talking to each other, I've managed to maintain my equations because I know eventually things will sort themselves between them and you'll be the one taking the side and being on the wrong side of it all. So I believe that never walk into a marriage, never walk into a friendship war. Don't walk into those dynamics. Maintain your equal dynamic with each and be happy with that zone, because it's never known to work out for anyone. These taking sides and teams, and I think that's things we did in high school, and I don't think that I'm way beyond it in my head.
You know, that's wonderful, because I think we just take back learning something from you. And you've never been diplomatically like that. It's just in your nature, and inspired of you being outspoken, you know, and the way you could say things the way they are. And yet you take a stand like this, I think is wonderful.
No, I think that it's important. It's something that I was taught. I think my upbringing has been a big reason for that has molded me as a human being. Things that my father said to me, taught me, and he was just like that. He always used to tell me the same thing, that, you know, two people fighting is not your problem, it's theirs. You know, and if you know them individually, then that's what you should do. Know them individually. You don't know two people as a unit. And so I don't even like to couple, like when I know a couple, I like to have individual dynamics with both, if you really care enough. Similarly with two friends, I mean, they're separate equations you have. So there's no reason when they have a distance, you should have the same distance. It doesn't work for me in that way. It never has.
So we have one last question.
Hi, Karan, this is Nitya.
Hi, Nidhi.
So the question is on the lines of casting. You spoke about it earlier. So there's this whole concept of directors or writers, for example, making a film for a particular Bollywood star. I mean, several times there have been, things like, oh, this film was clearly made for X, Y, or Z. Do you ever do that? Do you believe in making a film just for a particular Bollywood star and having to cast them?
It's been the case in my earlier half of my career. I always made films with Shah Rukh, and I still have a great rapport with him. When I made My Name is Khan, it's like, I'll tell you, my reason for making that film was initially because it was the communication of content, what I wanted to say. But I also felt like, I said, I have to give Shah Rukh that one defining film that was only about him and nobody else. Every time else, he was in an ensemble structure. There were always other actors in the movies. And I said, you know, I need to do this for myself, that I need to give Shah Rukh a Tower House performance film. So that particular film was the one film I made only because I wanted to make it with Shah Rukh, for Shah Rukh, as a unit both of us had built together in cinema. But other than that, I don't make films for stars. I make films that I believe in and cast stars that I think are great for it. It's not my ethos as a filmmaker. When I write a film, I then cast it after that. First, I have to choose a film that I want to make. Then I fit the star casting. But I've never, I think gone are those days. That used to happen in the 70s and 80s. But today, in modern day filmmaking, it would be slightly backward and regressive to, like, you know, make a movie for a movie star. Because then it's going to eventually be about the movie star, not the character you depict. And I think that's never fair to cinema.
All right. Thank you.
So when are you going to come back and make a film with Shah Rukh Khan again?
Very soon. I mean, Shah Rukh and I have a superb synergy. I mean, you know, we have like an amazing...
You haven't fallen out or any of that
No, not
stuff.
at all. I mean, we have never, there's never been a day in my there are always in every relationship, there are ups and downs you have. But Shah Rukh and I have a solid bond. We have an unbreakable bond. You know, he has an understanding, I'll share this now and I'll go on record and say it. In Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, he has one day of work in the film, which was people around were like saying, and it was conjecturing, and I'm confirming it today. I shot with him that one day, and I realized how special our work dynamic is. Because when I say something to him, he's understood it. When he says something to me, I've got it. And when you have worked 500 days with one actor on 6 important films, you know you build a certain chemistry with that actor. That is something that also translates itself into your personal space. That love and respect we have mutually for each other, no matter what, will always remain in the personal space. And in fact, if there's ever a major crisis in my life, I know in 5 minutes, that's the first phone call that will ring, will be his. You know, that flash. That it'll be SRK calling. I mean, I just know it. So it is the way we have this, as I said, what we have is an unbreakable bond. And there might be a storm, there might be an unusual circumstance, there might be a difference of opinion, but our bond will remain forever.
So so there's a rumor, you can confirm it or deny it, when you shoot with Shah Rukh, even if you're directing it, you've got as many, if not more, wardrobe changes than he does.
For myself?
For yourself.
Oh, that's very critical. I don't care about what the actors are wearing. My look on set is very important to me. And that's just of paramount importance.
All right, so...
Karan, thank you so much.
Anand, one
Sorry.
question.
Last.
One.
One.
Yeah. So, Karan, do you follow politics? What's happening in the country? What's your take on the present scenario?
That's a broad question to answer right at the end of an evening, is it? It's
Bold statement you have to make.
too detailed.
This is the Indian Express after all.
And of course, and I have to say that that's not an answer. That requires a whole 1 hour session for, my dear. I wouldn't be able to engulf my answer in 1 minute.
That's clever.
Yeah. So thank you. I think we're really at the end of our time. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Shubhra. Thank you,
And it was
Anant.
a wonderful, candid, engaging conversation. Thank you, great audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And
Thank
we
you.
have, before we have our CEO, George, will come and give you a lovely memento from us. George Verghese, please come up. So.